Are you buying a home, or is your mortgage coming up for renewal? Contact Mark Capincioni from Centum Mortgage Approval Center. His brokerage deals with 15 mortgage lenders, including major banks, credit unions, and exclusive lending institutions. Mark works with the borrowers to find them the best rate and most suitable mortgage product. Let Mark work for you. To learn more, call Mark for your free consultation at 705-254-9670.
Go ahead, Tony.
Welcome everybody to another edition of Sports Talk with Jay House and Bono. I'm Tony Bonifero, joined alongside, as usual, Jay Houselander and Jim Monaco. Thanks, guys, for joining us today. How you doing?
Good. You?
Good. So today we're stepping out a little bit of we're stepping out of our comfort zone a little bit, guys.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking a lot about some dance and some gymnastics. So I'm really excited to do this. Before we get to Tanya, we just wanted to take a quick second to mention the passing of Rod Myers. Rod was really well known in our community, did a lot of good work. And Jim, you have anything you just wanted to say quick?
Yeah, I mean, Rod wasn't a person I knew very well. I knew him to say hi and how you doing when I saw him. But he's a guy I heard a lot of good about in the community, and a person that, I never really heard anyone say anything bad about. And he's been supportive in the past to Sioux Minor football, and I know he supported hockey a lot. And with the, it's just sad. It's a we've been losing a lot of good people in the city lately, and it's not a good thing to talk about. But all the best to his family, and I hope they come out of this okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a quick little Rod Myers story to tell, and then before we get going here. But I grew up with his son Chris and Steve, and I also knew Julie as well, and great family. But just to describe the type of person that Rod was, I'll never forget this. When I was in high school, I was a big guy. Sure, I played sports and stuff, but I really struggled with self-esteem. I really struggled with motivation and self-image a lot in high school. And I never felt like I was really, I was never really like the stud athlete or the best player on the team. During my OAC year, my team had Chris Myers, Anthony Posturero, lots of real good players on the team. And we ended up winning the city championship. And a couple of weeks after that, I actually had a chance to talk to Chris about this and tell Chris this, because a couple of weeks afterwards, all the fuss kind of died down, and I ran into Rod. And Rod Myers, out of nowhere, just approached me, came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, Tony, you know what? You were the reason that we won that city championship." And I think I only had like 8 points or whatever. But Rod coming up to me and saying that to me during that time in my life really meant a lot to me. And that has always stuck with me, that was just the type of person that Rod Myers was. He would go out of his way to make people feel good. And I always respected that and appreciated that with Rod. So definitely a huge loss for our community, and our thoughts and prayers are definitely with the Myers family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
All right. Now, on that note, I get to introduce you all to Tania Castellani-Greco. I've had the privilege of knowing Tanya for, oh goodness, since we were 5 or 6 years old, I guess, in kindergarten. I went to elementary school. Yeah, I went to elementary school with Tanya. And the one thing I could say about her that always stuck out with me, even growing up, was her just love of dance. You know how certain kids growing up, they're always pegged for something, or they're always known for something. Tanya's had a love for dance since I can remember. And you know what? It's just nice to get a chance to talk to you here, and we really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you so much for having me on, Tony. It's super exciting to reconnect with you after all these years. I was saying to my parents, I've known Tony since I was taller than Tony.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh, geez. So true. So Tanya, just obviously with your experience with dance and how it's gone along your life, we just want to start with that. So can you kind of talk about your background in dance and talk about your qualifications and how you kind of got to where you are today?
For sure. Informally, I've been dancing my entire 39 years. Formally, I've been dancing since I was 5 years old. My mom basically drove down Queen Street to St. Marie and found the greatest fit, and and enrolled me at 5, as well as my sister. And my sister didn't take to it, but I did, and have been dancing ever since. I trained under Kiana's School of Dance Arts, which is no longer here in the Sioux. But I danced up until I graduated high school, and at that point I started teaching dance and taught all through my undergrad. I have a degree in psychology, so Bachelor of Arts, my honors degree in psychology that I received here. And then I wasn't so sure what I wanted to do, so I dove into the dance world and teaching dance even more. Got into choreography, competitive work, and then I decided to go and get my Bachelor of Education. So I went off to Western and got my Bachelor of Education. When I returned to the Sioux, I started teaching in the schools, but continued to teach dance. I think I'm just one of those people that dance is just always a part of me. It can't get away from me, I can't get away from it. But with my experience in dance, my love of dance, and then my background with my Bachelor of Education, I can kind of blend the two and bring my love of dance to the community. I've been teaching now at Studio Dance Arts, where I'm currently working, since about 2004 or 5, since it opened. About the second year it was opened, and I have been doing that ever since.
That's awesome. Obviously dance has been a huge part of your life, and we've kind of talked a little about that. You know, you and I have been joking throughout this. I do a little bit of work now with the Canadian National Ballet, and you know, I'll always remember your oral on Karen Kane. You know, I had no idea who Kane was, and you did your oral. I believe it was grade 8 in Mr. Dedetta's class. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but I'm pretty sure that's when you did it.
I don't even remember. I remember the oral, but I don't remember
absolutely.
when.
Yeah, so it was hilarious when I got to, you know, kind of associate with her and meet her and kind of be like, hey, I know you from an oral in grade 8 that a classmate of mine did. So so I know it's been a huge part of your life for a long time. You know, we're obviously hockey, football guys. We know those sports, right? And we have a real passion for that, and we live it every day of our lives, you know, and that carries along with in everything we do. I know that you're the type of person that has the same experience with dance, however. You know, Jay, if you want to put up the video of her first dance at her wedding, you know, just to kind of give an idea of how much it means to Tanya. So you kind of give us a little bit of history and kind of what led to this?
So it's so funny because I was excited to get married, obviously, my high school sweetheart. Very few things got me super excited and emotional about my wedding day aside from marrying Jay. I didn't really care about the flowers or the dress, but I wanted something special for my first dance, my opening number. I call it an opening number. So my brother performed a song by Jason Mraz. He played the guitar, and I choreographed and brought in former and current students that had played an important role in my life and who still play an important role in my life. They're babysitters to my kids, they're colleagues now, some of them, and good friends. And so, yeah, it was just kind of neat to have them involved in the day, in the dance, and just to make it sort of a production, which is just kind of how I operate, how I've always operated around dance and movements. It's a production.
Oh, it was awesome to watch. I really that was cool because you know again it just goes to show how into this you are, right, and how much this means to you. So that's great. We appreciate you letting us share that. You know, that was nice. So yeah, before we get into kind of like dance and COVID and those types of things, I was just curious. You know, obviously you've been in dance, you said, for 39 years in essence, right? How have you seen the dance program, and how have you seen dance in Sault Ste. Marie evolve since you started?
Well, I mean, in general terms, you've seen dance studios come and go. We used to have a local competition that we don't have anymore, but in reality, it hasn't really changed all that much. It's such an amazing community. When you're in it, you know all about it. You know all the ins and outs. If you're not really in the dance world, you don't see it. But there's definitely an amazing community, even among the different studios that are here in town. So not just my own, the other schools in town. We communicate with one another, we support one another. The dancers at school, they go to school together, they dance together, and it's so similar to how it was when I grew up too. I had friends who danced at different dance studios than me, but it just meant more fun at recess, more fun when we hung out, we created and shared stories. But yeah, it's a pretty awesome community of creative people who are just so passionate about the arts. It's awesome to be a part of it.
That's great.
Tanya, you kind of touched on my next question. Is there a lot of politics, a lot of competition between the dance studios and all that, or do certain places known for certain different types of dancing? Explain that to us.
I think, yes, and you know what's amazing is that each school, in town specifically, each school offers different programs. We're fairly similar in what we offer in terms of the disciplines of jazz, ballet, tap, hip hop. Some studios offer Afro. There's classes from preschool all the way to adult. And then there's just different programs and specialties, different faculty. So I think what's awesome is that whatever works best for you, whatever school and program works best for you, there are options. But we are fairly similar. And there's only as much politics as you want to create. And I feel like in our town, it is quite a supportive community. I wouldn't say the same from maybe bigger metropolises like down in Toronto, Southern Ontario. You may see different competitive edges between schools. They're bigger businesses. They're a little more hardcore. They're training like Olympic athletes sometimes. But in town, I think we have a pretty great community of dance teachers in schools.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that was a good question because, for the, person who doesn't follow dance, and doesn't live the life that you do, we see things like Dance Moms and Abbey Lee Dance Academy, and we hear about that whole aspect of it and the competitiveness and the craziness between schools and obviously that would be something that people would wonder is do we have that same kind of environment here in the Sioux? But you say no, right?
I say no. We're not like Dance Moms.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
No, the crazy things have happened, and we could have a conversation about some crazy things that have happened over the years, but no, it's not really like that up here. I would never pyramid my students or pit them up against each other and do those kinds of things like in Dance Moms and sort of the persona that Abby Lee sort of created for herself in her school. Not really like that.
No, that's good to know because again, there's a lot involved in some other sports around town, and so that's good to know that kind of people can work together. Go ahead, Jay.
The question I have is, like Tony had mentioned in gym about football, hockey, all different sports in Sault Ste. Marie. But when it comes to dance, we see players, I guess, to go on to the next level. Can you talk a little bit about dance? And is Matthew Fata from Sault Ste. Marie also?
Matthew Fata is from Sault Ste. Marie, yes. I never danced with him. He was dancing at a different school and trained under a different teacher, actually under Sherry Walsh, who was one of our faculty here for a few years. But yeah, we've had students go on to train in Interlochen in Traverse City in the dance program there, and that's Johnny McMillan. And once he graduated from there, now he's over in Europe and he's dancing with modern contemporary companies, having some success as a professional dancer. And we've had dancers also go off to Toronto and go into dance or musical theater programs. And they're now under management and performing. They're doing shows and different avenues there as well. So there's definitely the capability to go beyond as a dancer, and we try to give our students here as much experience and exposure to that as they want.
And it's something Sault Ste. Marie, we forget about, like, again, with Kim coming on and with dance, kids don't leave the Sioux for this type of thing, right?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, and we're so isolated. It's tricky here. So even for us, for example, our competitive team will travel, but for us, our nearest competition place would be Sudbury or maybe North Bay or Detroit down in the States. So that's like 3 to 5 hours minimum. But we're looking usually at traveling down to Southern Ontario, 7-8 hour trips and nights upon nights in a hotel. So it's just that much harder for our students to get that exposure for either conventions, which are training classes, or competitions, which are sort of weekend-long events where they compete against different studios from other areas in Ontario or Michigan.
So it's not like any other sport in Sault Ste. Marie then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's important though, Tanya, because I think a lot of people get focused on like things like soccer or girls hockey, and they sometimes don't take into consideration what you guys have to offer and how far you can go in dance. So
for sure, I think when you're in it, you can kind of get to know it. It's not as the immediate gratification isn't necessarily there. We don't have competitions every weekend as say like a soccer team would have games periodically, or a hockey team would have games and then tournaments. As a competitive dancer, we would maybe compete 2, 3 times max a year and then a year-end recital. So our times of performing and competing are limited. So it's a lot of internal drive and dedication. So if you want to do it, you have to love it. You have to sort of put up with those September to April months of really like digging in and working hard before you hit those months where you can compete and perform.
that's awesome. Okay, do you want to introduce us to your student and we can ask a question? Yeah.
Yes, I would love to. So I have, and I'll back up from the camera, but I have Leah Borelli, and Leah Borelli is a 16-year-old and is a student at St. Mary's College, and she's been my student since she was like 4 years old-ish. So we've known each other a really long time. She's one of my most dedicated students, an amazing kid all around, just leader, which is amazing. So hopefully talking to her, you'll see just the amazing nature of dancers, their on the ball thinking, their ability to present themselves in such an amazing way. And I think Leah will be a good example of that. So
awesome. Thanks. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So you've been dancing since you were 4 or 5 years old now?
Since I was 2, actually.
Oh, 2.
Yeah, I started
That's awesome.
competitively at 4 or 5.
Yeah. So what made you want to start dance? I know you started years and years ago, if you can even remember back that far, but was it more your parents' push, or did you kind of always kind of feel that this was something you wanted to do?
I feel like I always loved, dancing in the living room, putting some songs on, just dancing in my underwear, that kind of thing. And it was definitely, my parents definitely helped me go into it, but yeah.
That's great. So can you talk a little bit about what dance has taught you throughout growing up and throughout your years? What have you learned from dance that's really kind of helped you in the real world?
Dance has definitely taught me time management, because sometimes it gets very hard to balance school and dance, work, and everything like that. But dance has really helped with that, setting times when I can do things. Dance has also helped with self-discipline, because you need to get yourself together when you're dancing. You can't have a foot out of place. Your arms need to be good. So it's definitely helped with that. Experience too in dance. Yeah.
So, can you walk us through a typical day for you, like a typical dance week for yourself? I'd say pre-COVID probably, because COVID changes everything. So what's a typical week for you dancing wise?
So a typical dance week, I would dance Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. On Monday, Tuesdays, I would typically dance 4:30 to 9:30, and then Saturday would be 12 to 1:30 around there. And then I would have school all day, Monday to Friday, and then I would usually work after school or on the weekends.
So it's busy, yep.
Yeah.
So almost more dedication than Saber Cats, Jim.
Yes, it certainly is. Yep.
Yeah.
And do you plan to continue dancing as far as you can go? What's your goals in dancing?
My goals are just to graduate because this is my last year, or next year's my last year. So my goal is to finish with a good year, hopefully no COVID.
Yeah.
I've had a great 14 years dancing, so I don't think I'll continue after high school.
So what would you tell people? So say you're a young girl or young boy, and you're thinking about getting into dance, but you're a little bit nervous because you don't know anything about it, but you're thinking about starting off. What kind of advice would you give somebody in a situation like that?
I would say just go for it because when you're there, you're encouraged. Everyone makes mistakes, so it's all right. No one's gonna put you down for making mistakes when you're in dance class. So I say just do it. You're gonna love it. It's really good. Good for the mind, good for the body.
That's awesome. All right, so Tanya, can we bring you back? But I want to talk to both of you about this one, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I kind of, we've been talking a lot about COVID, and not necessarily about COVID itself, but one thing that we're really passionate about is the mental health, especially of our teens, right, and the young kids that are growing up. Jim is obviously a coach in everything. Jay covers every sport under the sun that involves like high school and even figure skating and everything. And obviously, I'm a coach as well. So we're really into the mental health, and we're really worried about the mental health of our young people nowadays. Tanya, I'm going to start with you. But what have you guys done at Studio Dance during COVID to help help our youth and help the students under your care?
Well, it took a bit, but once the shutdown happened last March, we went on a bit of a hiatus, but once we figured it out, we started offering Zoom dance. So we started giving students who wanted the opportunity to sign in online and take classes from home. And those continued through the spring. And then once September hit, we were able to come back in person. And I mean, it's limited, even as you can see, we have our studios blocked off in 6-foot blocks, and we have to wear masks and we're distancing, but we're here and we're in person, which is amazing. When the next lockdown happened just after Christmas, we did the same thing. We offered online classes, and it's pretty amazing. Even though a lot of our kids, especially our teens, were dealing with the stress of online school, the stress of being locked down in their homes and missing their social life and having a bit of anxiety, depression around everything, they showed up. They showed up to online class. They moved furniture out of the way. They participated in classes the best way they could in their bedrooms, in their kitchens, in their basements. It's pretty amazing. Richard Kim, who's the director and owner of Studio Dance Arts, did an amazing job setting us up for this. So we have cameras in each studio, we have our technology set up, our Zoom meetings, and it just allows kids the opportunity to still stay connected in our weekly Zoom meetings. I was saying earlier as I was signing in, now that we're in yellow, we're still a little bit limited in our capacity, so we can only have 10 people per room, which means some of our classes that have over 10 students have to rotate out of the classroom. So 1 week you might have 1 to 4 students online participating while the rest of the students are in class, but the fact that we can just quickly pivot to that and allow the students an opportunity to continue to dance even with these limitations is pretty amazing. And I think if it even helps in a little bit to give these kids an outlet and help their mental health, then I feel like all the stress of it was worth it. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a student at St. Mary's, correct?
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. So we interviewed Mercedes Mizuka a few weeks back, kind of about COVID, and she had a lot to say. So this is specifically for you. You're a 16-year-old. going through this, I can't even imagine how hard it would be for you, especially not being able to compete and those types of things. How have you been dealing with this? And not even you, but just your group of friends. How have you guys been dealing with COVID over the last year?
It's definitely nice getting together with like 5 friends, just with your masks on, social distance, just talking about how your week went, how everything went. I know dance definitely helps me because sometimes I feel very unmotivated when I wake up in the morning, I have to go to school, go to work. But knowing that I get to come to dance at the end of the day makes it all better. Also FaceTiming. I like to FaceTime my friends. That also helps a lot. Talking to family too.
That's great. Is there any sign of any competitions or anything in the future, or have you guys, like, is it possible to do a virtual competition? Like things like
Yes.
that. Has that been talked about?
Yes, and so many competitions are starting to develop that, and some have already done it and really successfully.
Yeah.
So there's the option to videotape your routines either in studio or in an indoor location and send the video off. And then the competitions will take those videos and compile them and play them in sort of like a live stream competition where judges will watch and adjudicate the routines as if they were in person. So it's pretty amazing what the dance world has done just in the last year to completely revamp how they've done things for decades upon decades upon decades.
Perfect. Okay, so Tanya, I'm going to talk to you again quickly here. So I want to just do a little fact or fiction about dance. Just because, again, being someone who obviously, I know a little bit about it, not as knowledgeable as obviously I'd like to be. So if I'm a parent and I'm, have a young son or daughter that I'm looking at putting in dance, these are some things I'd probably be thinking of. So the first thing is, oh, dance is really expensive. Is that a fact or fiction?
I feel like it depends. If you are a Leah Borelli, who also has a sister, Kayla Borelli, dance is pretty expensive in their household when you're talking about competing and having a number of routines that you have to costume and pay for entry fees and travel. However, dance is tiered in what you're wanting to do and wanting to enjoy. If you want to take a couple of classes a week at a recreational level, it's less expensive. But if you want to do a more elite competitive program, it's going to be more expensive, just depending on what you want to do. So the expense is there, but it depends on what you're doing. So if you're doing maybe a couple of classes a month at a recreational level, you're talking tuition, between $80 and $100, depending on your age and what you're doing a month. And a recital costume would cost maybe $100. For someone like Leah to go to competition, a costume might be $200 to $300, depending on the design of it and the details on it and that kind of thing. So I feel like it might be similar to sports. So if you're playing at a more recreational level versus an elite level, the equipment, the tournaments you're going to, it probably is the same in terms of what would be considered expensive.
No, it's great. Okay, so fact or fiction? I'm not really coordinated. I'm not very athletic. I'm not real strong. You know, but I love
Those are
dancing around
facts.
in my yeah. But I love dancing. I love the idea of dance. I like dancing or something like that, right? But like, is there? I know you said there's different levels, but are people able to sign up for classes if that's kind of how they're feeling?
100%. So it's pretty awesome to have classes that we offer here from when you're 2 years old at a preschool level, all the way up to adult classes. So we even offer adult ballet, we offer adult fitness. So there's classes from young babies all the way up to an adult. There's never a too old date to start dancing. We've had kids start at the age of 10 or 11, and as I was talking about Johnny McMillan, he's one of them. He started dancing coming off of a class at school, learned a hip hop dance, and sort of sparked his interest. And in he walked to the dance studio, and now he's a professional dancer with a company in Europe, which is incredible. So you're never too old. If you have the interest and you have the passion, you could do it. I could teach you how to dance, Tony. I could teach you.
So I was just about to say, so you can bring Jim, and Jay in, and we can have a little dance lesson, and we can put it on the show in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah, we could enter you into a virtual competition in a
Oh yeah.
That would
Jim in a tutu. I'd love that.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So, really appreciate that. So, is there anything else? So, we kind of talked about the classes, and I know. So, what do you guys offer in terms of classes? I know there's tap, jazz, hip hop, those types of things. But what else do you guys offer?
So we have the classes that we offer. So we have our preschool and kinder levels. So we have in those, it's like ballet, jazz, tap. We also offer ballet and jazz and tap and hip hop. We have lyrical, we do modern and contemporary, and we have them at all different levels and ages. So from the young ones, we also have recreational levels from the primary up until the teen age, and at the competitive levels, which usually at about 7, you start 6 or 7, you start competition. And you can go up until you're a graduate of high school.
Awesome. Jim, Jay, anything else?
No, I think that's for me. I want to say, question I have, sorry. Yep. Tanya, what was Tony like could he dance when he was a little boy?
Oh, yeah. He was good. In all of those school assemblies and Christmas concerts, he was great.
Yeah.
Very coordinated.
Oh yeah, you'll see. We're gonna have a lesson, and we're gonna show it on the show. No, but you know what, Tanya, I really appreciate you doing this. You're always one of the nicest people in elementary school and high school. You were always just a sweetheart, and everyone would always gravitate to you. So I think you're a great role model and inspiration to a lot of these kids growing up. So, really appreciate what you're doing in the community, and and thank you, and keep us in mind. If Sioux Sports, we're all for broadcasting things. If you guys ever want to do a little recital or anything like that, please keep us in mind, and we'd love to kind of promote it a little bit more throughout the community.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and I have to say before we sign off is that the idea of community, it has been amazing, the support that we've received from our dance community, to have our families signing up this year, knowing that there was so much uncertainty, that there were so many different rules and guidelines and things in place due to COVID. It's just, we're really lucky and thankful. I mean, even on behalf of myself and the whole staff and Richard Kim, we really are so thankful for our dance families and all of their support this year, because without them, we wouldn't be here. So it's really amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate both of your time, and you guys were awesome. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was great.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. So, guys, before we there she is. Look at her. She's all ready. So,
I'm ready.
Hey, Kim. So before we get to you, Kim, Jay and Jim, just your overall impression of Tanya and studio dance.
Lot of, for me, for Sioux Sports, I have to apologize to them because it's something I've never really covered, and can't believe, like you say, on how much dedication. Probably what we're going to learn from Kim and Kayla also is when it comes to dance of what's happened, right?
Yeah, Jim.
Yep. Hear me?
Any thoughts on what Tanya had to say and just the dance community overall?
It's definitely something that was really interesting. It's definitely something I know very little about. My kids, Dylan never took dance when he was young. So, and maybe it would have helped him as an old lineman. It probably would have helped him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great. She was awesome, and the Leah with her was very well spoken, and that's the trend on here. Me and Bono always talk about this. The young people that we have on here are so well spoken. It's incredible, and they amaze me every time. And she was great again too. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, and now we're on to the second part of our show with Kim O'Brien from the Sault Gymnastics Club. How you doing, Kim?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good. Thanks for doing this. You want to introduce
No problem.
who you brought on with you tonight?
Sure. So actually, we just finished practice. So this is Kayla Paquin, and she is my senior level gymnast at the Sault Gym Club right now.
That's
Sorry,
awesome.
Tony. I think somebody might have their volume on their phone or something on the show on computer. Because when Kim talks, it repeats her voice.
Oh, it's echoing?
Maybe it's because we're sitting beside each other.
Maybe it's because she's right beside me.
Oh, that was better, I think. I don't know.
Could be.
Sorry, am I still echoing now?
I'm not sure. Ask a question, Tony, and I'll let you know.
So yeah. So I've known Kim a lot of years, and Kim's a very dedicated, was volunteer, now employee at the Sault Gym Club. So Kim, I know you've been in gymnastics a long time. When did you start?
Well, to be honest with you, I actually started in dancing.
Okay. Yeah.
And my cousin ran it, and she politely told my mom that I was a bull in a china shop. So she kind of advised me maybe to try a different sport. So I tried gymnastics. So I didn't actually join gymnastics until I was 10.
Okay.
Which is really late. And then I did about 2-3 weeks at the recreational level, and then I got recruited to the competitive program by Mike Lemieux.
That's awesome. So Kim, I know, growing up, you obviously were a very competitive gymnast, and obviously gymnastics has had a pretty big impact on your life.
Yes.
Can you just talk a little bit about, growing up in the gymnastics world, people who really inspired you, some coaches, just the friends you made? Just talk about your experience growing up in gymnastics.
So like I said, I was late to join the gym community as a competitive athlete. A lot of athletes my age that would have been my teammates, like Shanna Dugan, Sarah Positano, they had already been in gym since they were about 5 years old. So I had a lot of catching up to do. I started at about 6 hours a week. And then when I was a senior level athlete, I ended up leaving training 30 hours a week. I'd train at 6 a.m. before school. Then I'd go to school for 9, and then right after school from about 3:30 till 9 o'clock. And then I would even miss every Thursday afternoon of high school just to get my training hours in order to achieve the level that I needed or wanted to achieve. Really, my main goal throughout my whole career was to maintain a gymnastics scholarship. My coach, Mike Lemieux, and Karen Apostle, I was lucky enough to be mentored by them my whole career. Mike Lemieux was actually a competitive athlete at Kent State University for the men's team, and he took our whole team to Kent State to watch an NCAA meet. And as soon as I watched that, I was hooked. I knew that's what I wanted to do. It was fun. Everything that I saw is what I wanted for myself. So at about grade 7, that's when I really wanted and took gymnastics seriously. And then from there, we started traveling all over the United States because actually in Canada, there are no gymnastics scholarships. Gymnastics isn't offered at the university level in Canada. And then, so we did all of our training and competitions in the States to try and pursue that goal.
That's amazing. So Kim, I reached out to your father earlier today, and he was gracious enough to provide us with some pictures of you growing up. So this is a young Kim Bonnell as the, in her early days. So Kim, obviously you've been doing this for a long time now. I know, growing up, did you think that, hey, I can make a living in gymnastics as a teacher? Was this your goal early on, or how did that kind of develop, and how did you get to the role that you're in now?
So I was unable to get a full ride gymnastics scholarship at the end of my career. I was offered a half ride scholarship to Connecticut, but unfortunately at that point, with the American dollar the way that it wasn't really affordable for my family at the time. So I had to decline it. So I went to Lakehead for 5 years in the concurrent education program. I majored in English and minored in kinesiology. So I have a teaching degree in English and phys ed in the intermediate senior division. I started coaching gymnastics in Thunder Bay is when I started. I started coaching at the rec level and then started making my way up into the competitive program. And then I came back to Sault Ste. Marie, started supply teaching, and then I wanted to continue coaching because it was my love and my passion. I didn't look at it as a job. It was something that I missed as not being an athlete anymore. I wanted to coach it and kind of give back to the club that raised me. And so as I was doing that, came back, started coaching at the competitive level, and then the head coaching job became available, and then it got offered to me and I accepted. And for a long while, I was getting some long terms at that point, but not a full-time permanent teaching position. Then I was offered a full-time salary contract job at the gym. And that time in my life where I was, family, kids, it seemed to be the best opportunity. So I took it, and I still am currently on the supply list. And if, I got a full-time job, I wouldn't say I wouldn't take it. I would still coach. But right now, my heart belongs to the Sioux Gym Club.
So you've been doing this now for how many years have you been coaching at the Sioux Gym Club then?
13 years, going on 14.
Wow. So
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what you guys offer at the club?
Yeah. So a lot of people, like I said, our competitive program at the gym is a very minor part of our gym club. Our competitive program, I don't know if a lot of people know, we are non-for-profit, our gym. So the competitive program doesn't bring in a lot of money. It doesn't keep us afloat. So our recreational program is what really our gym club is about, is allowing any kids of any abilities, ages, levels to join our program. So we have a recreational program, and we also have birthday parties. We do toddler drop-ins twice a week. We do family drop-ins so that people can just try and experience the gym and see what it's like before even having to join a set number of weeks for kids to participate in. We do birthday parties, and we do school programs. We have private bookings, and we work with tons of agencies actually throughout the community, like Nogdwindaman and the Autism Foundation and CAS, to actually work with kids to meet their needs as well.
Now I'll go to Kayla. Kayla, I know your parents and I know your dad, and so I've seen some of your. I followed you a little bit through your dad's posts on Facebook. He's a very proud dad, and you got really nice parents, great people. Just explain to us how you got into gymnastics and what started and how you got into the more competitive side as time went on. If you want to explain that to us a little bit.
Yeah. So I started gymnastics when I was 4. It was the first sport that I've only did gymnastics my whole life. I did competitive I was in rec, and then went into competitive for a few years. When I was 10, that's when Kim recruited me, and I've been in the national group since I was 10, and so I've been in the national group for 8 years now.
Now, how has COVID affected your gymnastics? Quite a bit. You'd be traveling to meets and stuff right now, and those opportunities aren't there now, and it's a big time for you. You want to get scouted. I don't know if you call scouting gymnastics. You want to get noticed, and so those opportunities aren't there. So do you have to kind of sell yourself a little bit more, send out a little bit more film, get them to talk to Kim a little bit more? Like how's that affected you, COVID?
Yeah, so when COVID first happened, it really put a pause on the recruiting process for me, because the competitions were where most of the scouts went to watch you, and it's different just sending them videos on a screen. Like, they really want to see you in person.
Yeah.
When it shut down, we weren't able to go into the gym, so we had to do more virtual stuff. In the summer, we trained outside a bit, but it's not the same as being in the gym, using equipment. our conditioning was virtual. It's just hard. Like now knowing that COVID's just continuing, like it's really, I don't know how to say it. Like,
yeah, it's tough. And
yeah,
are you in grade 12 now or grade 11?
12.
Grade 12. So this would be the year you would be going in. So
Yeah.
without going into, I don't want to go into too much detail, but how is your recruiting going now? Is it just basically non-existent because of COVID?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically, that's basically what happened. I wasn't in the gym enough. The skills that I needed to get were not happening, not because of not being in the gym. So it kind of it's nothing now.
Yeah, that's this point. Now, Kim, how much do you get involved in their recruiting and stuff like that? And can you explain how, a little bit more detail, how COVID has really slowed down the recruiting process?
So because like she mentioned, we do travel in the States. So it wasn't even just COVID in general. The borders being closed made everything even more difficult for us. We often go to training camps. That's a huge recruiting part of gymnastics is a training camp. We usually go to one that's in Michigan, and head coaches from all over come to watch these kids train, make notes. Because a coach for gymnastics doesn't want to just see how someone competes as an individual. They want to see how they train, how they are with other athletes. They want leaders. College gymnastics is about being fun and enthusiastic and being a leader. So they want to see how you are in training almost as much as they do when you're at a competition. So we missed 2 summers now of that recruiting process. So it really put a damper on that for her. In gymnastics, like I said, it's an individual sport. If you're lucky, an American team takes maybe 3 to 4 freshmen in a season. And so that's not a whole lot of spots. So like I said, that's every kid in the United States trying to get a scholarship for Gymnastics plus any Canadian athlete. So your chances are very hard and very almost slim in terms of, gymnastics scholarship because it's an individual sport. So those spots are very limited. Like I said, it's not, a football team where they may take this many, linebackers, this many receivers, whatever it may be. Gymnastics, like I said, 4 kids, and you may only compete 1 event, not necessarily 4 events. So it's really hard in general. So when you're not even getting that opportunity, again, training is, if you're not training, you're not ready to compete. And gymnastics is already a very dangerous sport, as I'm sure you guys seen on TV. Like you really have to be mentally and physically prepared to be doing the skills that you're supposed to. And because we weren't able to get the physical aspect to where we needed it, the skills weren't coming. Skills come if you're physically prepared. And as much as conditioning we can do at home, it's like she mentioned, like it's not the same going from 25 hours a week of high intense gymnastics training to 0 for months. A competitive athlete at that level being off for 4 months is like losing over a year. That's like the equivalency of that. Like that's how unique gymnastics is and how much you have to be in the gym in order to be successful.
Yeah, so basically getting a scholarship in gymnastics is tough as it is, and COVID makes it that almost impossible, right? Is what we're saying?
Yes, Kayla was the 2019 world champion in Florida when we went in 2019, and she would have had the 2020 world championship to regain her title in back this year, and we were it was in Nashville. Sorry, she was the world champion when we were in Nashville in 2019. Then we were supposed to be in Florida in 2020 for another world championship, and then this coming June would have been her final senior year at attending world championships, which would have been back in Nashville. But we're just not ready. Like we haven't been able to train, and like I said, the amount of hours she needed to be in the gym to prepare. So I feel terrible. It's not the way I wanted her career to end. And that's why I wanted her to have this little bit of spotlight as well. Because I will tell you, being 18 years old in the sport of gymnastics is very hard. Like it's really difficult at this age to stay, like I said, she's balancing high academics for school, trying to get, her grades where they need to be, balancing 25 hours a week on top of that. Plus she does extra conditioning training on her days off, and she has a job.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
I'll ask you one more question, then I'll let Tony go ahead. this might be a little of a weird question for you. My daughter was a wrestler, and she actually wrestled at Lakehead.
Yes.
And one thing one thing you hear a lot about after is that because she started wrestling later in life, and because she played hockey, is how gymnastics is really good for wrestlers, and you hear that a lot as you get into different levels, how the sport kind of leads into the other one, your balance, your stuff like that. I would kind of try to tell people that if they're interested in wrestling, you should go try and work on your gymnastics. So can you see how that would work? Can you explain that maybe a little bit?
Oh, like I said, so I am friends with Brent Freya, and he used to
Brent's my
actually
cousin,
be so Brent used to be a gymnast.
Yes.
So so every time when he was coaching at the high school level, he'd always be like, "Where's some ex gymnasts? Where are those gymnasts?" Because they're agile, they're flexible, they're fast, they're strong, they have all the attributes to make a good wrestler. So Brent always used to be wanting to recruit any type of gymnast because he knows the physical fitness that a gymnast has to be in because he did it himself. So he would always try and encourage gymnasts to try and wrestle if they could. So all those qualities of a gymnast work hand in hand with wrestling, very much so.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Go ahead, Bono.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in 2019 winning the world championship. I mean, when we hear that, that's a pretty big deal, right? Or it sounds like a big deal. So just talk about that experience, what that was like. Was she your first world champion that you've had?
No.
So
so I have had a couple in the past. We've had quite a few. I think the last one before her, I believe Addie Arbo was a world champion, and actually Taryn Lamori was another one that I had that was a very talented gymnast coming out of our club. But the unique thing about world championships, so as I mentioned, the United States has their own regionals, states, and national championships. But as Canadian citizens, we are not allowed to participate in them. We can go to their invitational meets to get practice and get scores and get rankings there. But because we're not American citizens, we can't be placed in their, like I said, their regional, states, and nationals. So when I was a gymnast, we went to these world championships. You have to get a qualifying score to attend. And then when you're there, it's amazing because you get to compete against several different countries. You're not just competing against, we're used to competing against kids from Canada and the United States. We competed, not me, my gymnasts and Pac have competed against people from Bermuda, South Africa, Netherlands, Germany, all over the world. Some of these athletes come to world championships. So like you mentioned, being a world champion there is something to be really, really proud of because we're the only Canadian team. So we are actually representing Canada while we are there. So one gymnast from Sault Ste. Marie is representing our country while we are there. So I think that's pretty cool and pretty, amazing for her.
So Kayla, what's your long-term goal with gymnastics?
Well, my long-term goal was to get a scholarship for women's gymnastics, but since COVID hit, that goal has kind of changed. So basically right now I'm just finishing the season as best I can and then going away to university in Canada.
Can you do gymnastics in Canada while you're at university? Are there clubs?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I'm not sure. It's not that known for.
So Kim, gymnastics has been in the Olympics, I believe, since 1928. And the highest position that Canada's women team has finished was 5th. And I believe that was in the 2012 Olympics. They came 5th place. But for the most part, they either don't make the Olympics or they finish, 10th or lower.
Yes. Yep.
Canada has a lot of good athletes. What does it take, or in your opinion, what needs to be done to see Canadian gymnastics kind of take that next leap and take that next jump to the next level?
You know what? I honestly don't know the answer to that because I have never really trained the elite level class of gymnasts. I know their hours of training are ridiculous, but I think you have to look at it as in other countries, I think gymnastics is life. Like in the United States, they eat, sleep, breathe for that gold medal, right? They'll do whatever it takes to win that gymnastics gold medal. That's why the United States has been at the top of the women's gymnastics world forever, right? And then even in the men's program, you have the United States that's always near the top because they have the money also to be investing into their athletes, into their programming. I don't think Canada quite has the finances to invest behind a lot of the training and extra stuff that some of the other countries do, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a lack of talent.
Yeah.
I think, I think those other factors play a part in, Canada's ranking as Canadian gymnasts.
Absolutely. So one thing we've talked a lot about on here has been, COVID's been beaten down. Everyone's talked about COVID and everyone understands the impact of COVID. One thing that we like to talk about a little bit, though, is the impact that you have seen of COVID with your students. Have you noticed much of an impact? Have you had students reach out to you much for, and talk about their mental health issues? Are they struggling at all? Anything like that?
So unfortunately, we had several kids actually leave the competitive program because, like I said, after having that long of a break off, they found it too hard to come back.
Yeah.
So out of shape, and then it's almost like they're starting back over again. And we've even had the other problem is we got kids back into shape from September to December, finally, after being off for those 5 months. And then look what happened. We had another shutdown. And tonight was our first practice back again since Christmas. So a lot of kids are just like, I'm working my butt off to get where I need to be, get in shape, and here I am again. Again, I can condition at home, but now I'm back at square one, and I feel like I have to start over to get it. So I know a lot of parents have reached out to me to say, when can the gym open? Where the kids are dying to get back in the gym, because gymnastics is unique that you can't really do it virtually, right? People don't have beams or uneven bars at home, right? Like the nice part with dance is you can dance in your kitchen all you want, or your dance teacher can teach you a dance over the computer, but I can't coach gymnastics virtually because the kids don't have that equipment to be doing it. So a lot of parents, these kids have been depressed, and I will tell you, I'm very close with Pac, and it's been a struggle for her. It's going from all these hours to nothing and then back and forth. I've had a lot of parents who are just like, I want my kid back in the gym because they're spending way too much time on the computer. Oh, now I know why my kid does gymnastics, because they're not as active. They haven't been able to do things. So the parents can't wait for the kids to be back in the gym. And a lot of these kids are getting sad or depressed or, losing sight of why they even started to do gymnastics in the first place, because it's back and forth, and they're not attaining the goals when they wanted to. Mm-hmm. And not going to competition is hard, because with gymnastics being an individual sport, you thrive on that personal success, right? So it's nice to train and learn new skills, because a gym season is broken up uniquely that they train and learn new skills for so long, but then another part of the season, they're perfecting routines, right? Because gymnastics is all about perfection. So a lot of these kids are upset that there's no competition. So why am I training when I can't go to a competition? That's a lot of their attitudes, right? So that's played a lot with their heads as well, right? Yep. So not going to competition, a lot of these kids are like, well, that's why I train for gymnastics, is so I can go and compete and show off what I've learned. The traveling part's fun for kids and for the parents, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone enjoys the social aspect of the sport when you can. So a lot of kids, like I said, we have lost. And then we have a lot of kids who are struggling to find a reason of why they're training again, because no competitions is hard. And I did hear you ask Tanya about virtual competitions. Yeah. And we have those too. But again, our kids weren't ready. It was a safety thing. And for them, it was like, I don't want to be recorded me doing a gymnastics routine in my own gym and then send it to a judge and they put me where someone else. It just, for them, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't fun.
Yep. That makes sense, though. I'm mostly involved in football, and we worry about that in the football world. We're going on our second summer now that we can't play in the summer, and there's a decent chance that we don't play again in September. Football is a little bit of a unique sport that it's so contact and so specialized. We worry that if it takes too long, people might not come back, and it's
Exactly.
scary. And I understand where the kids are coming from and the parents are coming from, and I feel bad for someone like Kayla, because who's put a lot of work in over the years, and to no fault of her own, an opportunity gets taken
Exactly.
away from her, and it's really sad. And we spent a lot of time talking about recruiting and COVID on here, and it's just sad that would happen. And you worry about this future of some sports going forward, right?
Yeah, and you can't push too hard. You can't make a kid skip a step. Like, we are all about, just like in football, drills,
Yeah.
skills, before you go and put the final product together. And those drills and everything and that strength and conditioning takes time. You can't rush that, or someone's going to get hurt, and then you feel terrible. So that whole progression to even getting to competition is the most crucial part, and we haven't been able to do that part. Competition is just the glory of showing off what you've learned, but we haven't been able to master any of those skills to do that. So you can't take a risk in risking someone getting hurt just to do it.
Absolutely. Jay, go ahead. I know you had a question.
And Kayla, something we talked, Tony talked to Kim about the World Championships and you being one, but we didn't get the chance to talk to you about your experience there and what it meant to you to do that.
Yeah. So in 2018, I also got world champion. But the difference was in 2019, it was like it felt more like a competition. There was more kids I was competing against. In 2018, it was just like 3 of us, and it kind of just felt like one of the invitational meets. Like, it didn't seem to me like it was a big thing because there wasn't a lot of us. But in 2019, I felt like I was actually competing and I wanted to get the gold medal, and you just have to put mind over matter and take one event after another, and whatever happens on the last one, just forget about it. You're going to the next event, and you just have to do your best. That's all you can do.
And Tony and Jim, that's where Kayla and Kim are talking, is when it comes to gymnastics, or even with Tanya with dance, it's routines where we play a full 60 minutes in most of the sports that we do and we cover. Where here, they go from one routine or, like I say, a dance to another one. So it's totally different. So it can be even more pressure on these girls or boys that are in these sports compared to what we do, right?
For sure.
Like, I can't even imagine the pressure you have as a gymnast that performing on your own. I mean, it's so tough, and I got a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, it's all on you, basically.
It's all on you, exactly. And then you're out there on your own, and I also think that's a great character builder, though, right? I mean, I would have to think that, yeah. So now, Kayla, I know a little bit about gymnastics. I know Tara and Lamari a little bit, and there's levels of gymnastics, right? Like you're one, I think, like level 10 is the highest or something like that. Is that correct, Kayla?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and how do you get to certain levels? Do you declare yourself at that level, or how do you get to that? Do you have to compete and win at certain levels? Explain that to us.
So there's different skills that you need to achieve to get to the higher level. So obviously a level 10 gymnast is not going to be doing the same skills as a level 8 gymnast. The higher the levels, the more difficult the skills become. Yeah. So that's just basically how it goes.
So it's kind of like getting like your like a black belt in karate, kind of.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
There's certain requirements that you have to meet on every event in order
to obtain a start value.
Okay.
So in the sport, so you want to have a start value of 10.0. So you have to, in order to get that 10.0 start value to begin with, you have to have certain skills and combinations in order to do that.
Okay, and do you test them and declare them level 10, or is that how it
do,
works?
yeah. So I put them in the proper category that I think they're ready to compete in. And I always try my best to, and it's difficult to explain to parents that, sometimes that, every year when your kid, gymnastics, you do not, I want to make it very clear, don't go 1 year level 6, 1 year level 7, 1 year level 8. That's not how it works. Sometimes you're at a level for 3 years because that jump from like level 9 to 10 is huge.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just every year. It's not like school. You go up a grade every year. I wish that was how it worked in gymnastics. but it doesn't. So some parents get very frustrated. Oh, my kid's competed in this level for the third year. They're not, but they have to understand, like, gymnastics is about perfection. Like, you're being judged. It's, very subjective. So parents have to, realize that their kid may be repeating the level. They're still learning new skills because, there's skills that are worth, a certain value when you can do the bare minimum, or you can push the envelope and be the best at that level, right? So some parents have a hard time understanding that, it takes time. It'd be nice if a kid moved up. I would have a gym full of level 10s, no problem if that was the case, but it doesn't work like that. So it's, again, I just choose a level that I think they will do well at, and then again the next year they do better, and then sometimes, or that second year, they've capped themselves, and I'm like, you're ready for the next. But it's not too often we even skip a level ever in gymnastics.
And when you get parents come up to you and say, hey, what the heck, you only got my daughter at level 8, you should be level 9. Does that happen?
All the time. All the time. Like, just like there's politics in any sport, there's very much politics in the world of gymnastics. So we probably remind them that, we're the coaches for a reason, and we're making the decisions that are always in the best interest of the athlete. It's not about me, it's not about them, it's what's best for the kids that are putting in the time, right? So but parents absolutely will ask or question what level their kid's in and why. But there's lots of politics in gymnastics as well.
And sorry, Tony and Kim, just to go on to that question, last week we had Don DeLuca and Jamie Henderson on for hockey, and I asked this question about when a player doesn't make their roster. How do you deal with that athlete and telling them they didn't make that level? I know that's hard on your part, but how do you go about telling somebody like Kayla that they're not going to move up this year?
So basically what happens for competitive is I will go into the recreational program. Obviously, that's where I grab the kids to join the competitive program, and I will do some recruiting. When I first started, I would have parents sign up if their kid was interested, and then I would do it that way. But over the years, I learned, like, not a great idea, because a lot of those kids weren't the kids you're looking for. It was the parents living the kid's dream. So I scrapped that idea, and I just went and found kids that, again, for me, it's not if the kid can do the skill. I want to look if the kid has a positive attitude, if they're physically strong, if they're willing to try something. If a kid says to me, I'm not doing that, well, I don't think competitive gymnastics is for you, because you can't have much fear in the sport of gymnastics, unfortunately. So I recruit, and then I ask parents if they're interested and give them information about the program, or the kids will try out. And if I say no, then you're right. They have a million questions asking, why didn't my kid make it? I always make notes of every kid that I watch, so that, again, so it's really hard to remember a brand new kid. So I always do a checklist and make comments, so that when a parent comes back to me, I can tell them the reasons why. And the biggest thing that I do is to always tell them what they can do to get better. This is what you can do. This is what I recommend. Try again next year. A lot of kids maybe will only do one session of our recreational gymnastics, and then say, oh, I didn't make my kid make the cut. Well, your kid's only done 6 weeks of gymnastics in the season. So I suggest her doing some more recreation, because the more time they're spending on the gymnastics equipment, the more skills they're going to learn, and the more likely they're going to be successful.
And just before Tony comes in again, Kayla, have you ever been told you haven't moved up a level? And if that's true, can you explain how that felt, and what did you do to get to the next level?
Yeah. So I was in level 8 for 3 years in a row. And it was all because of one event. And so I didn't meet the requirements that I needed for vault, let's say, because that was the event. But I had level 9 skills on floor, bars, and beam. So it could be like as simple as that. If you don't have the skill for that event, then you're not moving up in any other event.
Kim, and was it you who didn't move her up?
Yes. Unfortunately, I have to be the bad guy sometimes around the gym, but and that's the hard part with gymnastics. So I will tell you that vault usually isn't the event that kids have a hard time with in gymnastics. I will tell you it's uneven bars. Uneven bars is, and you would think, a lot of people think it's beam because you're on 4 inches, but bars is really hard because it's just strictly an upper body event. So our gym specifically seems to struggle on that event. So we have a lot of kids. We're a great tumbling club. We do fairly well on vault and beam, but bars is, the requirements are difficult. And again, it's pure upper body strength. So a lot of kids who may have a hard time getting stronger in that area struggle on that event. So like she said, I could have a kid that's like a level 10 on 3 events and a level 8 on 1. Well, unfortunately you're out of luck because you can't be a level 10 athlete and compete a level 8 vault. You can't do that, right? And if you do that, I'm setting her up for failure in the recruiting process, because they're going to look at me like I'm crazy and say, what are you doing here with this girl on this event and this event? So you have to be ready on all 4 events at that level in order to compete that level. So it makes it even more difficult.
I do think that also, Kim, kind of speaks to the integrity that you have and the integrity of the club. That, one of your best gymnasts was sitting on a level for 3 years. If that doesn't speak to integrity, I'm not sure what does. Yeah.
Thanks.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, Kim, and you kind of touched upon this, and then I'm going to come back to you, Kayla, because I want your opinion on this too. So, Kim, if I were to ask you to rank the most dangerous event to the least dangerous event, because when we're watching these, I can't figure out which one scares me the most. So, in your opinion, which one is the most dangerous to the? I would assume floor would be the least, but can you rank the other 3?
I would say in terms of risk of an injury, beam is probably your riskiest one because you're doing everything on 4 inches, right? So 4 inches isn't a lot. So, when you're watching the things that people are doing on a 4-inch beam, it's pretty incredible. So I would say beam is your most dangerous. I would say bars would be ranked your second because a lot of people do release moves. So they're letting go of the bar and then re-catching it, or doing transitions from a high bar to a low bar or vice versa. So a lot of kids will miss the bar, so there's a lot of injuries with bars. And then I don't know, floor and vault are kind of like vault, I would say next, because you're going from like a floor to the apparatus and then floor you can't really fall off of, right? Like you said, you can't fall off of it. I mean, people do get hurt and under rotate, and there's always injuries in gymnastics, but I would say that would be my ranking, would be beam, bars, vault, and then floor in terms of risk.
I know you sent us some videos, and unfortunately we can't get them on right now, but the one thing that always amazes me about a gym coach is when they're on the bars and the athlete is spinning and you see the coach go under, kind of stick their arms out in case they're going to fall, right? Has that ever actually happened?
Yes.
And have you actually had to stop someone's fall?
Oh, yeah.
But I'm watching this thinking that the coach might get hurt more than the athlete.
Oh, speaking of that, last year I was spotting Pac on a vault, and she went and she elbowed me and she knocked me out. Like, she knocked me KO'd on my butt. She gave me a black eye. I had stitches, like, because she's running full tilt, right? Being aggressive like she's supposed to. And I'm in there giving her a spot. And then she just decided to, I've spotted her a million times. And this is just at practice. And she whips out an elbow and knocks me out. So
was this after?
But my job.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I said my job and a job of a gymnastics coach is to put the safety of the athlete first, right? I've signed up for that. So we have training and spotting. So as a coach, you get taught how to spot a skill properly and safely. And your job is to put yourself, their safety is number one. So I sign up for that. So if I think, and I've done it to her at a competition where I think there might be a chance, and I'm at the end of the beam and I see something that's not right and she's in the middle of the air, I'm going after her. I mean, she's going to get deductions. It's going to cost her, but that's the risk that I'm willing to take. And my athletes know that, and parents know that. If I'm going to step in, it's because I see something that I know is not right with my gymnastics experience, and their safety will they've gotten mad. I mean, I believe she's gotten mad at me before, like, why'd you put your hand in there? Now I got this. And I'm like, sorry, right? So they don't get it sometimes because they're in the competitive frame of mind, right? Like, oh, you just ruined this or whatever. But I'm like, hey, I care about you and I didn't want you to land on your neck. So I'm going to do what I have to do. And all coaches at, in the sport of gymnastics and in our club are very great to know that the athlete safety is first. And that's why you have to really be paying attention when you're coaching. Like, you can't have any distractions in the sport of gymnastics, because if they fall and you could have done something, then obviously you're going to feel terrible. So at a competition, you got to pay attention, right? Because things happen, and if I can stop it, I'm going to try.
So do we have any, have you coached any male gymnasts? And if there were a higher level male gymnasts in the Sioux, could you coach them? Could you coach the rings and the high bar and stuff like that? Is that something we could do?
So our men's coach is Jamie Greenwood. Okay. So he is our men's coach there. The last 2 or 3 years, we've had quite a few older, talented level male gymnasts in the past. Silas Snyder used to be a really talented gymnast. Nathan Hallett is actually like 20 years old and still training. He hasn't been able to go away to university. So I actually 2 years ago went to the Men's Artistic Gymnastics Ontario Championships. So I was helping coach the boys on the universal event. So I would help them with floor and I would teach them on vault. And then just those events, like, I'm not certified in men's artistic gymnastics. I know enough about the sport to be able to give like form corrections, techniques, and drills. But our head coach for the men's program is Jamie. But I do like to help the boys program when I can.
So I was going to ask, when she knocked you out, was that roughly around the time you didn't move her up a level?
No, that was well after, actually.
No. So Kayla, I wanted to ask you too, sorry, what's your favorite? If you could rank your events from your favorite to least favorite, how do you rank them?
I think my favorite event would be bars, because a lot of kids struggle with bars, and I'm not really, I don't want to brag, but like, I'm not really one to struggle that much on it. It kind of just comes easy to me. The harder skills, like, I just like seem to get them quicker than most people. My second would be beam, and then floor and vault would be my last.
So, and then my next question was, what are you best at and what do you struggle the most? So if you had to rank them from your best event to your least best event, what would you say?
I would say bars is my best event. I feel like beam and floor are kind of even. I can, when I want to perform on them, I can, and vault would be my least.
And even level for 3 years.
Yeah. And Kim, would you agree with her when she says what she thinks she's the best at? Yeah. Okay, that's great. So I got to ask you one more question, Kim. I know your family, and I know Kenny. Kenny being a football guy and being the quietest guy in the room. What was he like at some competitions growing up? You got little Kim out there performing, and I can just picture Kenny on the sidelines running up and down and yelling and screaming and go Kim, and what was he like at some your gymnastics competition?
So my parents never put pressure on me. If I came home and complained about, oh, my teacher did this, my parents were like, they're the coaches. I never got sympathy. I put their trust in them. They never felt bad for me. They're like, you want to do this? This is your goal. This is yours. My mom never watched one competition.
Oh, wow.
She did it in the bathroom. I'm not joking. She was not she's not the competitive person. She's everybody has fun. Yeah. And as you know, like my dad is very competitive. But to shock you, my dad never did that. He sat back, he videotaped, he paced, be nervous, but he was never he was my biggest fan. He's the one that took me to all my meets. He was always the one getting up with me at 6 o'clock in the morning, warming my boots up, making my breakfast, and picking me up at school to and from practice. But my parents never put pressure on me, and my dad was fairly quiet at gym. If I didn't do well, my parents never said, "I can't believe you did this. What a waste of money." Because I had some parents and I had teammates whose parents said that, you know, we invest a lot of money and this is what you brought to the table. We just traveled, you know, and did all this and this is what you did. And I, you know, but my parents never once said those things to me. They were just like, "Did you have fun?" And they knew I would just go back to the gym and work hard. So I'm very fortunate. So I'm experiences that are hard to come by, especially now. As a coach, I see the other side, and it's very difficult to find parents like that.
That's awesome. Jay, Jim, you guys have anything else?
One thing I just for Kim, I just saw again social media. Michaela Huckabee just shared something about recreational gym and registration. Can you talk a little bit about that before we let you go? She just shared that on social media now. So
our rec program is back up and running. Registration for the public opened today. So we do offer programs from ages anywhere as young as 1 into our teen gym. Our programs run from our short classes are 45 minutes to up to 2 hours and 45 minutes. So depending on level, age, ability, and what parents are looking for. And you can sign up online. And if you just go to our ssngc.ca website, you'll see our pamphlet of days and times and availability. And everyone can register online. So we hope we have lots of kids who are eager to get off the couch and back into doing some physical activity.
And Kayla, I'm at the roads probably every other day or when there is sports, but I'm there for hockey, not gymnastics. Now the one by the window there where I don't know what it's called. It's like the
tumble track.
Yeah. Well, how would you teach these two to do the tumble track?
It wouldn't be pretty.
Would you risk your life for Bono?
Yeah. Wouldn't be pretty.
I'm not too sure. I really wouldn't feel that comfortable.
I don't think they would either.
Well, good, because I think I can do the dance thing, but man, I don't know. I'd probably kill myself in the gym pit. So, but that foam pit was always fun to jump in. So maybe, Kim, if you guys ever want to teach me anything, me and Jim will come out and you can put us through the ringer.
So bring some friends and kids on Saturdays, and you get to go play.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
You're football players, Jim.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. That was awesome. It was nice talking to you. Kayla,
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate
worked out
it.
for you at the end, but
I really appreciate us giving us the opportunity to promote the gym club and a small individual sport like us. So we really appreciate everything.
Yeah, and anytime you guys have anything coming up that you would like, a little bit of publicity or you want it out in the media, just let us know and we'll be there to help you guys as much as we can. So, you know what, Kim, again, you do a lot of work for the community. You do a lot of work at the gym club. I don't think people realize how much time you put in there. And, I know it's really appreciated by a lot of people. So thank you for all you do. And I know that, again, people definitely appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And
thank you very much.
Appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely, guys. You guys have a great one. And thanks again. So we'll talk soon.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So Jay and Jim, just quickly, final thoughts. We kind of stepped out of our comfort zone a little bit here, but just overall, your overall thoughts on what we did today and who we spoke to.
I thought it was great. It's a little bit different. I was a little bit leery going into it because they're not. I don't know a lot about gymnastics and dancing. I mean, they're not our wheelhouse, like you said, and probably some people say I talk about football. I don't know a lot about that either, but that's a different topic. It was great, and like I said, I'll give the plug to the young our young guests that we've had on. They're always so impressive, and the ones we had tonight were great again. And that to me is one of the best things is to hear the young people talk. And I feel bad how they've been affected by COVID, and it's sad for me, but they'll be successful. You can tell they'll be successful in their whatever they do anyway. So.
And that's one thing we, again, hockey or football and stuff like that, and we that's what we talk a lot about. But something with gymnastics, where COVID here is hockey and football, we have found ways to work around it, or the kids can get recruited. Or Kayla at 18, she's done this all her life, and COVID's more or less just slammed her into the wall and said, "You're done." Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but that's she can't. There's no. It's not like football or hockey where there's so many more opportunities, right?
Yeah, exactly. And she's up against it where it's an American sport, right? Because there's no CIS gymnastics, as we just learned, and there's probably our competitions going on across the river, and she can't go to them. She can't even cross the border. So anything that's going on, she's doomed. So they'll just take their own, right, instead of taking a Canadian person, and it's kind of sad. And I feel bad for her. But like I said, it seems like the kind of person that's going to be successful in life, anyways, and. I think sports, the individual sports like gymnastics, track and field gymnastics, they really teach you how to deal with the pressure, and you're out there on your own. And I think that's a good thing. When you got to go into a job interview, you're used to performing on your own, so you're a little bit more comfortable. Do you think so, Bono?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also think that, what Jay has done with Sioux Sports and I'm kind of what our show is, I think it's important that these people get the opportunity to talk about it, because in Sault Ste. Marie, these are things that might get swept under the rug or might not get the media attention that they deserve, but there is a big community and there's a big following here. So it's important for people to know that there are other options out there rather than just football, basketball, baseball, those types of sports, right? There's other options and there's other avenues. So I was really impressed with Kim, with Tanya, and both students. I think they did a great job, and they really represented their clubs really well.
Yeah, I thought they were great too. And the nice thing is tomorrow we do got some kids back on the football field at the indoor facility. We got some sessions going on. We got I think I got a full session of 25 people, which is our limit right now. I think I got a full 25 going at 4, and then I got another, I think 23, 24 going at 10 tomorrow night, and then we got the linemen. We got about 17, 18 linemen out on Thursdays. That's going to go for 6 weeks. So, that was no problem filling those spots. Originally, I had booked 2 hours. I had to go and book a third hour because the demand was so overwhelming. And we'll do things safely. We'll get them on the field. And it's only an hour for 6 weeks. But you know what? It's a start. And a lot of these kids are chomping at the bit to get back on the football field. And it's nice. Makes me happy that we can offer that opportunity. It's been a little extra work. I'll be honest with you. COVID has made, there's that many extra hoops you got to jump through. You got to dot every I and cross every T with the city to get the field, and that's fine. And you got to bring some disinfectant wipes and stuff like that. But we're ready to go, and we'll see how it goes. So that's exciting for us, and I'll give you guys an update on that next week when we're back. And that's nice to see, and I'm glad the kids get back out there. And the gymnastics and dancing, they're going a little bit again. So maybe things are starting to come back a little bit.
And that's exactly it. And we usually touch base on what's going on in the sports world too. And I asked Jim this before he came on. 2 things, Tony. Your thoughts of Watts going to Cardinals?
I was shocked. I thought he was going to go to Pittsburgh, but I think everyone did. But when you're when you're offering a guy at his age and his stage of his career and how many games he's missed, 23 or what was it, 21 or 23 million. That's tough to turn down. So it's a good move for Arizona. I think he does a lot in the community as well, and he's a locker room guy, and that's what they need. So smart move. It was a smart move for whoever got him.
My only thing I was telling Jay before we came on here, my only problem with that is these guys like J.J. Watt, he asked for his release in Houston, and I get it. Houston's a bit of a train wreck. And then he comes out and says, I want to win. I'm going to play somebody that wins. That's all that matters. Yeah. And then he goes, Arizona's a decent team, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl next year, even with J.J. Watt. So if I could ever talk to these guys, I would say, don't tell me that you want to go and win. Don't come out and say it, because then you go and sign with Arizona. That you took your money, and you're allowed to. He's more than allowed to take his money and go live in a beautiful area of the country. But just don't tell me you want to win, and that's your highest priority. That's my opinion.
Yep. And the final thing, Tiger Woods, career over?
I wouldn't be surprised to see him back in a couple of years. He's an elite level athlete. He's an elite level worker. I mean, he's had troubles already. I mean, it's possible that he can never come back. Yeah, I don't know, but if he can, I think he'll be back.
I say 100% Tiger Woods will be back at some point and play another tournament on the PGA Tour. Do I think he'll have a long, substantial career after this? Maybe not. But will he be back? Tiger Woods will be back.
When does he qualify for the seniors rounds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're already there. Yeah.
After we do. Yeah.
All right.
Well, guys, thanks a lot. Again, can't thank you enough, Jim. I'd like to say we'll touch base about me coming over and doing an interview with you at the fields if we can, and get it out there more. So thank you guys, and we'll talk next week.
Thanks,
Sounds
guys.
good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.